Hi, my name is Joseph Parker, WBO champion of the world, and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Now, this is a little bit interesting, but quite how serious Daniel Dubois is, I have no idea. But I have no reason to believe that he's not serious at all when he's mentioning the name of Joseph Parker. In fact, this is what Daniel Dubois had to say about Joseph Parker. Someone told me yesterday that Parker was annoyed that his promoter can't get him fights. As the busiest heavyweight in boxing, I'd be happy to give him work. Daniel Dubois' statement. So, a couple of points on that one. I don't know whether it's necessarily frustration with Joseph Parker that his promoter, i.e. Eddie Hearn, can't get him fights. He is getting him fights, and he was supposed to have a huge fight against Derek Chisora, but ultimately Joseph Parker got a spider bite, which I think was on the leg. So he had to pull himself out of that, which is fair enough. But of course, since then, Derek Chisora, a potential fight with him, is that really coming off? Well, we don't know, because Derek Chisora, obviously David Haye has turned his head towards potentially fighting Alexander Usyk. And if they're going to get the WBO world title on the line as well, if they can somehow swing that, then, hey, listen, why not? But ultimately, for me, I'd love to see Parker and Chisora just get it on. But if not, Joseph Parker, Daniel Dubois, that's an interesting fight, isn't it? Very, very interesting. Now, personally, if I was Daniel Dubois, I'll stay away from Joseph Parker right now. I know he's got supreme confidence in his own ability, but is it a step too soon? Maybe a step too early? Maybe. But listen, a lot of people will heavily favour Daniel Dubois. Of course they would, because he's carrying some serious power and so far looking the real deal. But Joseph Parker is a different level. In fact, he's quite a few levels above the kind of guys that Daniel Dubois has so far faced. He really has. But Joseph Parker, of course, former WBO World Heavyweight Champion. Daniel Dubois is currently British level, Commonwealth level. You can't really say Joseph Parker is of the equivalent to British or Commonwealth level. You can't say it. Now, ultimately, if Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois fight, technically the Commonwealth title could be on the line. But I don't think this is a fight necessarily that Joseph Parker would take, because first of all, I don't know quite how financially lucrative it would be. Second of all, it's a bit of a risky fight in the sense of if he fought and defeats Daniel Dubois, people will probably go, well, you're supposed to do that. If he loses, it's pretty much curtain call on his career, isn't it, as far as big fights go. So from that point of view, I don't think he's really going to make the fight. But, hey, listen, if they can get it done, I'll watch it, wouldn't you? But for me, when I look at Daniel Dubois, when he's mentioning like these kind of names, I do believe that he would actually fight Joseph Parker. I do believe that Daniel Dubois would fight anyone, to be honest with you. But hopefully he's got a good team in that around him who will progress him. Joseph Parker is not a progressive fight. That's not how it is with Joseph Parker. Okay, Joseph Parker, he doesn't have a lot of miles on the clock, but he's been in there with some very, very good opponents. Bearing in mind, as of today, Joseph Parker is the only guy to have gone the distance with Anthony Joshua and defeated Andy Ruiz Jr. And don't forget, he gave Dillian Whyte a lot of hell when he fought him as well. So, for me, I wouldn't advise this fight whatsoever. But if Joseph Parker really wants to fight, I don't think Eddie Hearn would necessarily stand in his way. But ultimately, there's probably more and bigger fights out there for him, not just financially, but for legacy fights, such as an Usyk. Because if Usyk was going to go fight, say, for example, a vacant WBO World Heavyweight title, which the winner of Andy Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua is probably going to end up vacating, Usyk may well have to be mandated to fight Joseph Parker, as he will be next on the list. Well, technically it would be Tyson Fury, but Tyson Fury is already committed to go fight for another world title against Wilder. Next one up is Joseph Parker, not Derek Chisora. So from that point of view, I think he'd probably take the Usyk fight, wouldn't he? But hey, listen, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But either way, I like the noise that Daniel Dubois is making. I really do. I really rate Dubois. Hopefully he will go on to become a world champion one day. But I certainly wouldn't rush the situation. For me, while he could potentially beat Joseph Parker, as of right now, I'm not convinced that he would. Hey, listen, I could be wrong on that one. And if Daniel Dubois does fight him, big up to Daniel Dubois for at least trying. Okay, because there's quite a few fighters who probably wouldn't fight Joseph Parker. Whereas Daniel Dubois, he looks like he's quite willing to take on a lot of opponents, where when you look at maybe his now new stablemate, such as Joe Joyce has mentioned a lot of names, but doesn't quite fight them. Even when fighters such as Ortiz and that turn around and go, okay, let's do it then, suddenly he goes all quiet. And same thing happened with Big Baby Jarrah Miller and quite a few others. So when Joe Joyce says it, I kind of take it as a bit of a pinch of salt. In some ways, don't get me wrong, Joe Joyce, of course, he's pretty new into the professional game, as is Darren Dubois. But Joe Joyce, of course, he's doing well so far, is he not? I mean, defeating Bryant Jennings and a couple of others like that, he's doing pretty well. So either way, for me, Darren Dubois against Joseph Parker, very, very interesting fight. I'd love to see it, but right now, I do feel it's a step too far, and I fully understand when a lot of people will totally disagree with my statement, because Darren Dubois does look like the real deal. But let's not rush it, okay? If you take the cake out of the oven too soon, it's going to sink. Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.